Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch holding and just get straight into a different part, please check the pinned comment or the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you like. If you're sticking around, though, guys, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to another video where we talk about UFC bets for Rozenstruik versus Almeida. This is what we're going to go through, okay? And time's up there again if you'd like to use them. Confident picks, fights that I think are likely to hit if you are to bet on them. We're going to go with Underdog Opportunities. The next section will be fights to avoid. Do not bet on them under any circumstance. And we have Lock of the Week, the fight that is, in my opinion, as close as you could get to 100% certainty for a fight hitting. And then lastly, we will go into the section with my official bets. And I will have proof on the screen for you of myself betting on those fights. Guys, ready? Timestamps are there if you'd like to use them. Let's start off with the confident picks for today. So we're going to start off with the main event. We have Rozenstruik versus Almeida. So many people are on the side of Jailton Almeida, okay? I believe he's going to win as well. Here's the problem, though. I'm not on the side of Jailton Almeida. I am not 100% confident that he's going to win this fight. Should he win this fight? Absolutely. I believe him to be more skilled, and I believe he's just going to do what he does, take Rozenstruik down, and work from there. However, these are two giant heavyweights. And Rozenstruik, we have seen it before, primarily in the Alistair Overeem fight. This dude has some serious power. So I believe the bet that you should be making if you want to bet on this, I believe it is a confident pick to have this fight specifically not go the distance. The 5-round main event, two heavyweights going at it, whether or not Jailton Almeida finishes him or Biggie Boy catches him with a huge shot coming in through a takedown with an uppercut or something like that. I think there is very low chance that this fight ends up going the distance. So I would not bet one way or the other. Again, I think that it is a confident pick to pick this fight to not go the distance. Secondly, Ian Garry. I am extremely confident that Ian Garry will win. I really, really like him in this matchup. I like him against Daniel Rodriguez, somebody who's aging, and you could argue that Daniel Rodriguez is coming off of a 2-fight skid. A lot of people are really criticizing Ian Garry's past performance against Kenan Song. I am looking at it from the sense where it is the first time Ian Garry has faced adversity and he's been tested. He passed that with flying colors. He showed that he's a dog in there. He showed if something goes wrong in the fight, he can come back and he can win the fight. I am very impressed with Ian Garry, and I haven't been that impressed with him since his entire run with the UFC right now. So I believe that Daniel Rodriguez is a favorable matchup for him. This fight's going to stay standing, and I think Ian Garry will be faster, younger, hungrier, more importantly. And you could just tell, Daniel Rodriguez is not anywhere near at the end of his career yet, but he is getting there. He's a little bit slower, and I've never been ultimately too impressed with him. So I think Ian Garry is a very, very confident pick. Now, next up, I want to talk about Carlos Ulberg, okay? I almost didn't include him because he's fighting Ior Peteria. Peteria has a way of just eating your shots and catching you. So understand that if you want to place any bets in this fight, okay? Peteria just has a way of sometimes getting it done. However, looking at this fight on paper, Carlos Ulberg should win this with flying colors. He'll be faster, more crisp, and honestly, you could take a look at this fight and say it's a mismatch. I don't know why that they're putting these two fighters together unless they want to build up Ulberg, but then really fighting Ior Peteria isn't exactly a fight that you want to give him when you want to build a guy up. I think they just want to get another win under his belt. I don't know, because Ulberg himself isn't too promotable, so I don't know. I just think that he is going to be so much better, and it's a very confident pick for me. Next pick, I have Court McGee. Now, Court McGee is fighting Matt Brown. Court McGee has just been knocked out in his last fight. So it's tough because I'm a little bit worried in the sense where Matt Brown could catch him very early in the fight and his chin just might be gone. However, Matt Brown is significantly slower, and don't get me wrong, Court McGee is too. But Matt Brown, he's 42 years old right now, and I am done picking fighters who are over 40 years old. I just got bitten in the butt with my pick with Clay Guida last time. I was like, oh, you know what? Clay Guida's over 40. He can still fight. He can still hang in there with the guys he got pieced up. I am absolutely done with it. None of these guys are Glover Teixeira. Matt Brown is one of my favorite fighters, and I will be cheering for him. Okay, but Court McGee, I think, is very likely to win. I think Matt Brown is slower, and especially in his last fight. You know what? His last fight was close, Matt Brown. But still, it was not an impressive performance at all. Court McGee's just coming off of a one-fight skid, and I understand he's also not necessarily a shell of his former self, but he's getting there. But I think Court McGee will have the one-up on Matt Brown. I think he's very likely to win this fight. Now, next up, I want to talk Carl Williams. I believe his fight against Chase Sherman is another mismatch. I don't see Carl Williams losing this fight at all. However, as we've just seen with Braxton Smith last week, and sometimes these guys who are a little bit newer in the UFC and take on guys like Chase Sherman, guy who's been in there with bigger and better opponents, sometimes we see them not necessarily pass the test when they start to get to the names. And Chase Sherman, while he's not a ranked fighter at heavyweight, he is a name and he's been in there with some really, really tough guys. So Carl Williams, on the other hand, though, taking a look at this fight on paper, skill for skill, I think he will absolutely dominate Chase Sherman in this fight. Now, I almost wanted to include Carl Williams winning by decision because these two aren't necessarily like finishers at heavyweight, but at the end of the day, it is heavyweight, and I don't think that's safe. So just Carl Williams to win is my pick. Now, next, I do want to talk about Natan Levy. I think Natan Levy is very, very likely to win this fight. Now, you got to understand when you're fighting a guy like Pete Rodriguez, anything can happen, okay? I do think Natan Levy, again, talking about skill, I really, really like him in this matchup, but Pete Rodriguez is one of those guys with the power to really, really clip him. It's possible, okay? And just like I was talking about with, was it Carlos Ulberg? Yeah, Carlos Ulberg, that's what the fight, I have everything written on my screen here. Carlos Ulberg, I almost didn't put on it, almost didn't include Natan Levy. He is more technical, he's better, he is just a better fighter, okay, than Pete Rodriguez, but Pete Rodriguez is, again, one of those dudes who just imposes his will, brings you into a brawl, and he has the power to win the fight there. So Natan Levy, sometimes he doesn't wrestle, and should be his game plan. If Natan Levy fights smart, he will win this fight 10 out of 10 times. But sometimes we see Natan Levy just go in there and play the striking game, which should not be the game plan at all. He is a better ground fighter, and he could do what he wants to Pete Rodriguez if he does take him to the ground. So I would imagine Natan Levy would want to go in there and wrestle, because that's where Pete Rodriguez has issues with. But I'm not really, really, really confident on this one. So Natan Levy should win this fight, but be careful if you're betting on this one. This is certainly a confident pick, Natan Levy, but I would not be surprised if he ended up actually losing this fight, okay? Last fight I want to talk about, Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle is taking on Gabe Green, and a lot of people, are picking against Bryan Battle in this one. People are saying it's a very close fight. I agree it's kind of a close fight, and both guys are coming off of a really, really bad loss. Bryan Battle coming off of a significantly worse loss. But Bryan Battle, every single time that we've seen this dude, he looks significantly better in the octagon. And we saw in his last fight that there is absolutely no quitting him. So he is always going to be in the fight. I think throughout this fight, he will be more dangerous than Gabe Green. And I believe with what we've seen with Bryan Battle so far, after a loss like he just had, I feel like he will only get better and better. I do really like Bryan Battle on this, and that's why he is a confident pick against Gabe Green. I think he will just be a little bit better everywhere in the fight. It's a dangerous guy, Bryan Battle, and I think he'll get the pass. I think he'll get past Gabe Green in this bad matchup. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about some underdog opportunities. These are not fights that I think, again, they're not confident picks, okay? They're just, at the time of making these fights, these fighters are underdogs right now, and decent underdogs as well. Underdog opportunities, okay? We're going to start off with Tainara Lisboa. She's taking on Jessica Rose Clark. Now, Jessica Rose Clark just came off of a horrible injury and has a very spotty record. Women's MMA is very tough to bet on, and you know what? Anything can happen in that division. However, Lisboa is I can't remember, apologies if off the top of my head, a kickboxing or Muay Thai world champion coming into the UFC, taking on a very subpar fighter in Jessica Rose Clark. I believe that, I'm just not impressed by Jessica Rose Clark and anything that she does. The problem is, why this isn't a confident pick is, one, because it's women's MMA, and two, Lisboa hasn't fought in the UFC. So how's she going to come in and fight a girl like Jessica Rose Clark? I think she will pass that test, but I am not betting on this fight at all. Secondly, we just talked about it, Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle, at the time of recording this video, is a 230 underdog. That is crazy to me, and I jumped on that opportunity with a bet. Spoiler alert, that's one of the bets that I placed, okay? I'm not ultra certain that he's going to win. It's just I think they're very good odds, and Bryan Battle is an excellent underdog opportunity. Next up, like we were just talking about, Pete Rodriguez. Pete Rodriguez is a significant underdog, okay? Natan Levy is the better fighter. However, Pete Rodriguez is one of those guys, like we talked about already, that can just go in there, swing, and clip you. It's possible, okay? So I do not mind him, and like we were talking about, that brings me to Ihor Peteria. Kind of the same thing. He should, on paper, get completely outclassed in this fight. However, sometimes he has a way of just eating your shots, landing his own. He's a powerful guy, very capable of doing so. Significant underdog Peteria is right now, and if you want opportunities for the underdog, that is very possible. Next up, Matt Brown. I do not think Matt Brown is going to win. However, Court McGee, like Matt Brown, is a former shell of what he once was. And Matt Brown is very dangerous in that first round. I could see Court McGee trying to get a hold of him. Matt Brown just landing one of those giant elbows. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but both these fighters are getting up there in age, and this is a decent matchup to put them together. So I like Court McGee a lot in this matchup, but it's very possible that Matt Brown wins this. Lastly, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Him, along with Tainara Lisboa and Brian Battle, I think those are the best underdog opportunities because Rozenstruik is bouncing around somewhere like a plus 500-ish underdog. That is absolutely crazy to me for a heavyweight. He is very capable, and we've seen it throughout his entire career. You cannot count this guy out. They're heavyweights. Jailton Almeida is smaller than most of the guys at Rozenstruik fight, so maybe he won't even be able to get them down to the ground. Should Almeida get him to the ground? Yes, but I think it is very possible that Rozenstruik clips him with something huge and puts him away. Almeida has not been tested yet, and this will be his first test. I'm not confident in this fight at all. I am not on the Almeida train one little bit. So, Rozenstruik, if you want to talk about an underdog, that is an excellent underdog opportunity. Probably out of everybody, I'd say Brian Battle, Rozenstruik are the two best underdogs if you want to get a good value from your underdog picks. Next section, fights to avoid, fights that you should not be betting on, in my opinion. First of all, we have Cody Stamann versus Douglas Silva de Andrade. Long story short, bantamweight division, the best division in MMA history. You could take a guy who's unranked, you could take a number one contender, throw them together, and anybody could win. Those guys, both of these fighters here, are fantastic, and it's a very, very, very close matchup. This is one of the coin flip fights, in my opinion, and I'm staying away from it. I have no clue who's going to win this fight. If you got a gun to my head, I'd say it's Silva de Andrade, but Cody Stamann is a dog. This should be a fantastic fight. Point is, avoid this fight. Under no circumstance do I believe anybody should be betting on this fight, okay? Next, Jeon Kim versus Manny Bone. Two fighters that blow, okay? You know what? I don't mean to be disrespectful there, but these two fighters are not good, and when you have two fighters who aren't good come in and fight each other, something not good's going to happen. One of them's going to win, obviously, but I don't even know what to think about this fight either. Let's just move on from that. So that fight is impossible to predict. Rozenstruik versus Almeida. We talked about it. I just gave you all the reasons why I don't mind Rozenstruik's chances in this. The only fight, like we mentioned in the confident picks section, the only bet that I like is for the fight to not go the distance. But if you're just money lining it, if you're picking one of them to win, I think you're nuts. I think you're absolutely crazy unless you just are really hoping to get an underdog opportunity. Lastly, and this one you could probably see coming, fight number one to avoid. Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. And that's because, one, Anthony Smith, he's getting up there in age, has a ton of miles on his body. And two, Johnny Walker has been getting better. But with Johnny Walker, he has a chin problem. One of the worst chins in the UFC. He might be the better fighter than Anthony Smith. He's going to be younger. He's going to be hungrier. He seems more dedicated right now. But all it's going to take is one jab from Anthony Smith to put him on skates. I think that is a crazy... The odds at the time I'm looking at them right now, they're both minus 190. It's a pick'em fight. It's crazy to me, and I completely agree with it. I have no clue who's going to win this fight. This is the biggest coin flip fight on the card, and I think you should be staying far away from it. You're just going, it's like if you're betting on this fight, you're going in there and going, hey, put it all on red. That's what you're doing, man. It's crazy. It's crazy if you bet on this fight. You cannot bet with Johnny Walker's chin. Moving on to lock of the week. This is the fighter, in my opinion, who is going to win just as close to 100% that you can get. Of course, MMA, anything can happen, right? I almost put Ian Gary here, okay? Almost put Ian Gary, and I wanted to, okay? He's barely below this fighter, but my lock of the week for this week, and it's, something else to mention, my apologies, is a lot of people when they make these videos, they pick an underdog. I'm not doing that. I'm just picking the fighter that I am most certain will win, and that is Alex Morono. Alex Morono is taking on Tim Means, and Alex Morono, besides his last performance, which he looked great, by the way, until he got just clipped. It was one of those moments. Alex Morono was passing that with flying colors and just got clipped. But before that, he built up the sneakiest win streak, and he's been looking good. He's been looking better every single time we see him, and that's from him coming off of a bunch of short notice fights. He's the guy who comes in and saves the day. Now he has a full camp. He's been improving very, very quickly, and he's been looking great, and he's taking on Tim Means, a guy who is way past his prime, way past his prime. Can Tim Means still compete? Yes, but he is a step behind so many of these fighters, and with Alex Morono making his improvements, and with his striking has been looking so good. Tim Means He'll be a little bit closed up, and Alex Morono will just have a lot more tools to use. I believe that this is the most likely fight to win. Alex Morono, I have just about, I'm 99% this dude's going to win this fight. If Tim Means pulls this off, it'll be one of the biggest upsets in recent history, in my opinion. I am so confident in this fight. I think Alex Morono has been getting better at putting together a very, very quiet win streak, and you cannot judge him by his last fight. The dude is an absolute animal. He's coming in there, and he's winning this fight. My lock of the week is Alex Morono to win against Tim Means. In this last section, we have my personal official bets that I have made. The first bet that I made is a parlay with the two fighters that I am very confident will win this weekend, both Alex Morono and Ian Machado Gary. I explained the reasons already. We're not going to go specifically into these matchups. I just really like them, and I also bet, like I was talking about, and will the fight go the distance for the main event? I bet no. I'm not a big better. I put 15 bucks on. I'm very, very confident in this. I love this. My favorite parlay that I've made. Actually, it's my favorite parlay that I've made in quite some time. I would be shocked if this lost. Next up's actually a really fun bet. So this is something that I've never said on the channel before for those of you who regularly watch, but what my sister and I do every single week is we take 10 cents each and throw it all on every single underdog on the card. You can see it doesn't show up, my screenshot didn't capture it all, but our 20 cents, if every underdog happens to win, again, we just do it for fun. It's really fun to cheer for the underdogs. We get $71,000. So ignore this. It's just something fun my sister and I do. Next bet I have is Bryan Battle. Like I was talking about, I really like him as an underdog opportunity. At the time that I caught him was at 205. I'd put 10 bucks on it. I think Bryan Battle will win. I'm very confident that he'll win. So anything can happen against Gabe Green. He's not a lock or anything. So I just put him by himself. I just really like the odds for this one, and I like his chances, so that's why I threw 10 bucks on Bryan Battle. The next bet that I made is just everything that I've talked about here. I just threw 5 bucks on all of my confident picks. We see Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Jailton Almeida. Will the fight go the distance? No. Bryan Battle, Natan Levy, Carl Williams, Court McGee, Carlos Ulberg, Alex Moreno, and Ian Machado Gary. Just for fun, again, it's a very, very risky bet, but I thought it'd be fun to throw 5 bucks on that. If they're all my confident picks, why would I not try it? And the last parlay that I put together is I put 15 bucks on Carl Williams and Carlos Ulberg. We went over the reasons for why I believe these fighters will win. I just wanted to put them, I just wanted to make another parlay, and I really do like the chances for both these guys to win. So the odds of them coming together actually was very good. So I didn't mind it. I get an extra 10 bucks through that. I don't mind that. I really don't mind these matchups, like putting these two together. I think that they should win. Again, it's these two that are competing that I was like, oh, you know what? Anything could happen, but the likelihood of these two winning are very, very good in my opinion. So that's why I threw 15 bucks on them. With that being said, though, guys, that's everything I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any bets that you've made, please let me know down below. Is there anything you disagree with? Let me know. I would love to talk about it there. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Enjoy the fights this weekend. If you want to watch more of the Clenbat channel, on the screen right now, we talk about all things MMA on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care.